The topic is experience and technology. We're calling those the new core disciplines of marketing. On this panel, we've got three very different people with very different backgrounds, and that's kind of how we planned it. We wanted to bring in three fundamentally different points of view on this topic. First speaker, just to give you a lay of the land, we'll do some quick presentations. We won't bore you to death. We'll blast through those. We'll get into some round-robin discussion on a few topics that we think are important, and then we'd like to open it up to the audience. And I'll get to that in a second. So on the panel, we have Scott Brinker from Ion Interactive. He's the CTO and founder. He also blogs at a site that many of you may know called Chief Martech, or Chief Marketing Technologist. He's one of the kind of leaders in this kind of movement to define this space between IT and marketing and what that means to organizations who are trying to grow their brands and grow their businesses and how they exploit that seam there. Next is Nate Barad from Sitecore. Nate runs product marketing for Sitecore's products, and he's going to talk about it from the point of view of the kind of technologist, the guy who creates these products that try to bring the great experiences to customers. And finally, Sean Rusinko from Verndale. My colleague, I run marketing at Verndale. My name is Chris Landfear. And Sean runs our strategy team, and he's going to talk about some work we've done with clients that is like really cutting edge and really interesting and kind of exploits, again, this idea of how you take really awesome platform technology and put some great creative on it and fundamentally change marketing as we know it, we think. He's going to show you some pretty interesting stuff. If you've got questions along the way, you can tweet them in. If you can get them a little under 140 characters with the hashtag to Verndale FM, Verndale FutureM. And I'll have them up here, and we'll try to answer them. And we'll get some questions at the end if you have them at the end as well, too. So I'd just like to start with Scott.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Hi, everyone. So, as Chris mentioned, I wear two hats. I'm the co-founder and CTO of a marketing technology company myself, Ion Interactive. We do a platform for creating app-like landing pages, microsites, things like that. But the other hat I wear is as a blogger for Chief Marketing Technologist, where for about 6 years I've just been looking at how this influx of technology, not just the technology itself, but technology talent and technology culture is changing marketing. So to just set things up a bit, I was trying to think of a good image to represent the relationship between marketing and technology today. Everyone talks about this wave of technology, and it feels to me that it sometimes feels like this, that we're that marketing shift coming up this huge wave of technology, and the question on everyone's mind is, okay, we're going to make it over the top of that, or, the other alternative. And I think this is something that we all recognize, whether you're at a brand or an agency. There was a survey done by the folks at Accenture earlier this year where they found basically more than 70% of the marketers that they spoke to said, we believe marketing will fundamentally change over the next 5 years. Fundamentally. So what is this change? I mean, to have a perfect storm, you have to have several things colliding all at once into a big vortex. And the three things I just figured I'd highlight for our discussion today is, first and foremost, the shift from marketing from what used to be primarily in the business of communications to increasingly in the business of delivering experiences. It's part of that, the change of these new talents, getting beyond things like art and copy as the foundation of marketing, to things that, art and copy are still incredibly important, but they're now also combined with code and data. And then a little bit about the discussion of how the pace of marketing and marketing management is changing as well. So I think the shift from communications to experiences. In theory, marketing has always been responsible for customer experience. The old 4 Ps, product was always the first. But in reality, we all know that promotion is what has taken over the lion's share of marketing for now many decades. And we're starting to see this shift back largely from what the folks at Google call ZMOT, the zero moment of truth. That where we used to have this role in marketing of giving people a lot of communications and then having the benefit of a lot of time go by before they actually bought the product and engaged with us as a, quote, customer, that now with the ZMOT, people are basically in a mode where as soon as they get any inspiration associated with a product or service, they can instantly go online and essentially move from just hearing about something or reading about something to actually engaging with companies, having these touch points. I'd like to say that the distance between creative and communications and customer experience has now collapsed down to a click. I know the ZMOT, when Google promoted it, they have a lot of examples in the consumer space. If you haven't read that book, just Google ZMOT, free book out there for it. But the same thing is also happening for those of you who are in B2B. There was a survey done by the Corporate Executive Board earlier this year where they had found that basically this relationship that people have with the zero moment of truth, of just getting online and engaging with companies online, has shifted the balance of power in B2B companies from what used to be a very sales-driven engagement to something that's increasingly driven through marketing and marketing experiences. Their survey found that in B2B, actually now we're at a place where on average, 57% of the buyer's journey is completed before they ever talk to a salesperson. And it's marketing that's responsible for delivering that 57%. And it's not just the experience those people have, but thanks to the wonder of social media, the experiences any individual have, they're in a position to turn around and share with others for better or worse. And so the stakes associated here with those experiences are higher than ever. This diagram isn't readable at this scale, but Forrester had a great, you can find this online, Forrester had a great, concentric circles of customer experience touch points. And the main thing that they're just trying to say is, throughout the entire prospect cycle, but then once people become customers, how their onboarding experiences, how they become loyal advocates over time, all of these have touch points that cross all of these different channels in a way that's defies the nice, neat silos that we used to have with marketing communications. And so this is our mission when we talk about marketing dealing with experiences. How do we manage that well? Now, part of making this happen is finding the technology to enable that. And again, we're not going to talk about it a lot today, but I'm a firm believer that great art and copy, great storytelling is as important as ever. Even more so with all the cacophony that's out there. But the storytelling now, it's not something that people just take passively. It's a much more experiential kind of story at this point. And so there's all sorts of technologies that are out there to help people do this. I know this diagram was shown in a few other sessions too. I did this about a year ago, and it was just a tiny sample of 350 companies. Ever since I did this, I've been just beset by all these vendors, great vendors who have told me, by the way, you forgot to include us, which is why I'm out of that business now. And the good folks at Luma, the investment bank, they came up with a Lumascape that now hopefully they'll